So we recently did an overview of crafting where we talked about how crafted items work on a broad level, the ingredients you need to make them, and how they apply to players. Today we're going to dive more into the individual crafted item categories, and since alphabetical is as good as any other method, let's jump into the blood recipes first. The blood recipes use perfect rubies and center around all things life, whether it's plus life, replenish life, life leech, or even decimating the life of enemies through bleed and crushing blow, which makes most of the pieces useful in one form or another for a lot of classes and mercenaries. Even some of the items most people overlook are still nice, even though they're only mostly useful until you get to some of the high-end uniques, which will basically, they're meant to tide you over until then. A big example of that is the Blood Helmet, made with Raw runes and, well, the literal helm or casque or armée if you want exceptional or elite. The Blood Helm can get normal rare helmet mods, but also gets a unique chance at double damage through a deadly strike modifier. It's a small percent, but it works. On top of that, it does have the standard life leech and extra life, which makes it a very solid option for making mercenary helmets in a pinch without sacrificing their body armor or weapon slots. If you were weird and actually wanted to sacrifice the body armor slot, that's a little less impressive. It uses plate mail, and of course its higher versions, with a Thul rune, which is kind of expensive especially for what it does. It basically does the usual leech and extra life and normal armor rare modifiers, but it only has a unique boost of 1 to 3 life per demon kill, which is a good number of enemies, yes, but it's not enough to make that consistently useful versus other armor choices, so it doesn't even really make it that much use for a mercenary whenever you can make better, well, rune word armor for them. Moving off the mercenary talk and back onto the player, we have blood boots made with light-plated boots and an eth rune, which is fairly cheap. And they're basically going to be essentially good chances at finding a fun set of rare boots for cheap, but with life leech, extra life, and a pinch of replenished life added for spice. While not a godly option, this definitely isn't a bad option for a melee character early on, especially if you haven't found any GG rare boots or a solid unique pair to kind of beat them out. On the other hand, we have blood gloves made with the heavy glove variants and a Neph rune, of course. You get mildly underestimated pieces of equipment here, with the usual rare glove modifiers, which can be extremely good in and of themselves, but also with guaranteed life leech, bonus life, and in this case, 5 to 10% crushing blow. I don't see why this one's so underestimated, but people do make it from time to time, but it's basically amazing for a fast attacking character. It's a good alternative to even some elite unique gloves that you have an option of, especially if you can get 20% increased attack speed on it. So you can make some amazing things here. It's just not as crafted as much as the rings. But before we get to those, we're going to move across over to the belt. This is a decent option for players lacking high-end belts. This can actually be made with a magic belt proper, which, yeah, you generally want to make it with the mesh belt or mithril coil to maximize your belt slot, since the normal belt does not have the full 4 rows. And it's also probably one of the easiest blood recipes to make, thanks to being centered around the Tal rune. The Tal rune being easily dropped from every version of the Countess. That is her most common rune drop. The belt offers the usual rare mods on belts, which are usually fairly decent, but it also has the life leech and life of all blood recipes, and it also offers a 5 to 10% chance of open wounds, and is a good source of a bit of bonus bleed in the early and mid game, and a lot of people overlook this aspect because they're too taken into other belt options. Moving up from there, we have weapons and shields. In the weapon slot, we have axes with orts, and any axe you want, from military pick to berserker, from battle axe to glorious axe, one-handed or two-handed. This offers lifesteal and plus life, but also a nice addition of 35 to 60% enhanced damage, which means the high end of blood axes are one of the few weapons that can end up with over 500% enhanced damage, since theoretically you can spawn with cruel and masters, since they are non-exclusionary, or even cruel and fools modifiers for similarly massive numbers, albeit not in the percents. So it can be pretty damaging, but it's pretty hard to get those GG crafted weapons. On the shield side, we have the spiked shield, which is almost as useless as the, well, armor version of pretty much any crafted recipe, honestly. But anyway, it's a recipe which I've never actually seen used, so the footage you're seeing in the background of me using it is probably the first time for me, but basically it gives you a rare shield with life leech, which is cute, and it's an extra bit of life, and it gives you a bit of damage return of 4 to 7 points of basically thorns, which is nothing. Even though it uses an ith rune, I honestly can't see wasting even that unless you're trying to show off the recipes to people on the internet, and I don't know what kind of weirdo would be doing that while talking over potential footage, but hey, if we find them, we should direct them to the, well, big ticket recipes like the Amulets and Rings. The amulet, the less popular of the blood jewelries, is still kind of interesting, but maybe not interesting enough to use an am rune for most people. The blood amulet can get the normal rare modifiers, which are amazing on amulets, so yeah, there isn't a bad amulet kind of thing that you will guaranteed end up with. There's always good options for amulets, possible at least. It can get the normal rare modifiers, 4 of them instead of 6. But on top of that, it does have natural life leech and life gain, but it's also one of the few jewelry slot items that can boost run walk speed. The other one being, well, an amulet as well. In the ring slot, we have easily one of the top 2 most crafted recipes in the entire game. That is the blood ring. Well worth a soul rune since it guarantees life leech, bonus life, and a pinch of natural strength. This makes it a lot easier to create dual leech rings, which are highly sought after mana and life leech rings. You just need a little bit of patience, since all you need to do is get that mana leech modifier and you're set. It's also the only way to hit 11% life leech on a ring. You have to roll max life leech plus the innate life leech at max, but the level requirement on that is astronomical for what it is. It's still kind of neat to see. And if you found any of that useful, come back tomorrow for probably Blood's biggest competitor, caster crafting.